second show in our month of Almodovar. I hope you're all doing well tonight. If you came to the first show a couple weeks ago, right up front I'm going to tell you this one's very different. Pedro Almodovar described The Skin I Live In as a horror story without screams or frights. Indeed, this film includes many horror movie elements, specifically a mad scientist inflicting his ideas on other people. The quintessential mad scientist movie, 1931's Frankenstein, opens with actor Edward Van Sloan warning his audience about what they are about to see. So, in this spirit, I offer the following warning. The Skin I Live In contains what the province of Alberta calls sexual violence and disturbing content. Like many of Almodovar's films, it explores themes of sex, violence, and gender. But unlike his more campy melodramas or comedies, this film is clinical, upsetting, and as critic Dana Stevens put it, it is a math problem, not a poem. Its primary theme could be said to be the lack of consent. In addition to sexual assault, the central action of this film is that of a forced sex reassignment. As programming coordinator of the Calgary Cinematheque Society, part of my job is ensuring that we are showing films that meet our mandate to present significant, challenging, and essential works of cinema art. Sometimes that means life-affirming films, like All About My Mother. But challenging works like The Skin I Live In are no less valuable. Not all art is meant to comfort, some is meant to confront. With that warning out of the way, let me tell you a little bit more about the film. So for those of you who attended the first screening in this series, you'll remember that Pedro Almodovar got his artistic start making his own 8mm feature films in the Movida Madrilena artistic movement that arose in Spain after the death of dictator Francisco Franco. Over the years, he progressed to 16mm and then 35mm films with higher budgets and greater critical awareness as he went. His big breakout film was 1988's Woman on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, which was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film. Almodovar makes his films under his own production company, El Desio, to ensure creative independence, and many of his films use the same actors, editors, and other collaborators. Our previous film in this series, All About My Mother, was released in 1999 and went on to win more awards and honors than any other film in the Spanish motion picture industry's history, including the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film. His next film after that, 2002's Talk to Her, follows two men who become friends as they care for the comatose women that they love. It was another critical darling, and it earned Almodovar an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay and a nomination for Best Director. Almodovar's themes of sexual violence, religion, gender, and meta-commentary continued in 2004's Bad Education, while his focus on female characters was ascendant again in 2006's Volver, which had actually been introduced as a movie script yet to be produced within the story of his 1995 film, The Flower of My Secret. 2009's Broken Embraces would embrace Almodovar's structural experimentation by jumping around not just in time, but also with the device of a film within the film, which he is quite fond of using. That brings us to tonight's presentation, 2011's The Skin I Live In. The project began as an adaptation of French author Thierry Jonquet's novel Tarantula, originally published in France in 1984. Almodovar's screenplay moved farther and farther from the original novel as work on the project continued, and so shows the mark of the director's love of classic film in the way that it pulls influence from classic horror titles, most notably the 1960 French horror film Eyes Without a Face. This film was greatly anticipated at the time, as it featured the return of Antonio Banderas to Almodovar's company of actors. Banderas had gotten his start in films as a regular collaborator of Almodovar's in 5 films from 1982 to 1989, But the 1990s saw the actor break into the English language Hollywood industry in films like Interview with the Vampire, The Mask of Zorro, and Shrek 2. However, by 2010, the actor was 50 years old, and he could no longer get the Latin lover style roles that Hollywood had typecast him in. Returning to Almodovar allowed Banderas to transition into older parts with a stronger character focus, enabling him to stretch as a performer once more and winning him his strongest accolades in many years at the time. Frequent Almodovar collaborator Penelope Cruz was originally planned for the female lead of this film, but the role eventually went to Elena Anaya, whose best-known English language role is probably Dr. Poison in 2017's Wonder Woman adaptation. Upon its release, The Skin I Live In received a largely positive response, with many noting that all of Almodovar's pet themes are still present here, but they're just being seen through a different genre lens. José Luis Alcain's cinematography presents a colder world than the one Alfonso Bieto photographed in All About My Mother. And yet, despite its challenging subject matter and departure in style from Almodovar's past works, this film was yet another success for the director, grossing $31 million worldwide on a $14 million budget, and winning Best Actress, Best Makeup, Best New Actor, and Best Score at the Goya Awards in Spain, as well as Best Foreign Language Film at the BAFTAs and that year's Saturn Awards. So, in the words of Edward Van Sloan, I hope that The Skin I Live In will thrill you, it may shock you, it might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to, well, we warned you.